Happy Monday, Mike.
Hey, good morning, Coach Robbie. How are you?
Doing awesome, man. Doing awesome. Thank you.
Okay, awesome, dude. Me too, man. I'm back in the groove.
Back in the groove?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I ran a little bit. I got my dog on the Couch to 5K9.
Nice.
So we're going well there, and I'm trying to think of the equivalent for cycling.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, because there's really not like bike races. Couch to bike tour?
Yeah, that's probably going to, yeah. Couch to Greenway stroller.
Couch to Jack and back?
Yeah. Man, I will pay for your Jack and back cycling trip if you tow Maddie.
I'd love to, man.
Yeah.
She'd probably love that too.
She would. Yeah,
she
probably would.
She loves anything with motion.
I know she does.
Or anything with non-motion too. She's just very content in her ways that way.
Hey, she's a good dog. So do you want to go ahead and get the football talk out of the way, or should we just wait and kind of ease that in?
I don't really know what to say, man. I am pretty excited about that, and on the, I guess, backside of all that, I have a unbelievably contained excitement about our basketball team, too. So things are going well in the Badgerland. We lost 4 starters in basketball, but I think they're going to be better than they were. So that's just my personal opinion. Yeah, it was a nice win. Wisconsin trounced Iowa. It was probably the best I've ever seen them play defense in my lifetime.
Wow.
Yeah, Iowa scored 14 points, and they're both on pick sixes.
Yeah, I know. It was a close game there for a little bit. But,
yeah, it was
17-14.
And at that time, it was 17-14, and like, I don't know, maybe like close to halftime, and Iowa had 14 total yards. They ended up with 66 yards of offense on the game.
Wow.
Averaged 1 yard a run or something like that. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But, that's what we do. We stay the course and just kind of put them away.
Oh, well, good for you guys.
I know, and on your side of the coin, are you happy that, or do you not care that Butch Jones has been?
I mean, I think it's way overdue, so, I mean, I wasn't really shocked. I knew it was going to happen. It was just kind of a matter of time.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to delay it, hoping we could squeak out a couple more wins, and at least wait till end of season. That way, I think the change and coaching could be a little more smooth, because now they're just going to be a free-for-all on our recruits. So, which is fine. That's kind of one of the things you got to swallow when you choose to get rid of a coach. Is you have to buy in that it's going to be a process to get back, and you got to crawl before you can walk.
How do you feel about Tennessee football in general right now? Like the future. Or are you losing interest?
No, I'm not losing interest. No, the sad thing is, man, is that we have a ton of talent.
No, I know.
That's the sad part. That's like the most frustrating part, is seeing how much talent we have and like no discipline. And it all comes back to the coach. And you can be too good. You can be a great coach and a terrible leader. I think he was a terrible leader.
Terrible leader. Well, here's my thought on that. Since we're going to talk a little bit about coaching today, and I don't know what to think, because like he said, I mean, he's obviously done a good job of getting talented players into Tennessee.
Yeah,
and that is without question. And then secondly, I look at, maybe, kind of early in his career with Tennessee, there were several games that really could have, went in his favor, it seems like he's had a lot. And maybe that's just the nature of the SEC in general, but those late games that kind of like just blew up on him, or, a silly little thing here or whatever. But I mean, there was several times. I mean, I feel like in his coaching career when a couple plays that went the other way could have just maybe really swung his whole career. But they didn't.
That goes both directions.
Oh, it does. It does.
Like the Georgia win last year on the Hail Mary. It's like if take away Josh Dobbs, and he's probably fired a year and a half ago. It's like I totally quit being interested in our football team when we're losing by like, who God knows, 30 to Alabama, and our sophomore cornerback gets a pick six for our only score of the game and flicks off the student section.
Yeah. No,
and is immediately back in the game. It's like zero control. Like it was to me, that was it. I was like, you know what? I'm tuning out what you're doing and what you can recruit players, but it's under what premise are you, and what are you promising them? And what are your expectations?
Well, that was a really good point. I think that almost in my mind, I wondered too if he was just telling these players anything to get them there.
Yeah, telling them what you want to hear.
And then when they get there, that doesn't work out. They get mad or whatever. I mean, who knows what happened with Jalen Hurd and some of that stuff. But I don't know. I think it was just it turned into a train wreck over time. But my question is it like some of those early decisions that go the wrong way, or you always wonder about that. Does that just flip the tide, and then all of a sudden the criticism train started getting too hot for him, and he couldn't react under that fire, and then it just burned out of control, and like he couldn't do anything right for the last year and a half, period. Whether it was right or wrong, it seemed in the media. So I don't necessarily know if I'm this way as a player, but I just really buy into letting your coach do the thing, and and just be patient, kind of thing with the program. I feel like that. I felt like initially the fan base or alumni or somebody might have snapped on Fulmer a little too quick, and that kind of got weird, and the whole thing's been a little bit weird ever since then. Kind of a reactionary type deal. So, anyway,
Anyway, but we'll see. I mean, I have a couple fingers crossed hopefuls that I hope we get. But and listen, if you're a Tennessee fan and you're listening to this podcast, stop hoping that we get John Gruden.
I know, I don't understand that one, man.
You're what's wrong with Tennessee football.
That's what I'm getting at.
As a fan base, shut up. Just quit looking towards the past. Quit asking for T. Martin to come from USC. You know who you want? You want Dan Mullen.
Oh, I don't know about that, but
you don't think Dan Mullen's a good football coach?
Well, I didn't really see it the other day.
Yeah, I think if you flip flop talent, I think we have a different ball game. I mean, it's either, in my opinion, my top three picks:
Scott Frost,
Dan Mullen, Scott Frost for sure, Dan Mullen, and the coach at Iowa State.
Oh, yeah.
Although he doesn't have a lot of recruiting experience in the South, so he's probably not going to be on the tip top. But the head coaches at Memphis, UCF, and Mississippi State, keep you in the South and keep you young, and But who knows, man? We'll see. There's a lot to be. There's a huge coaching carousel going on, and and stop asking for Chip Kelly and Les Miles. You want somebody to bring the program up on their own and establish it, in a new direction. And none of those guys they're has-beens, they're big names, and you want somebody to come up and establish themselves. So anyway, if you're a UT fan, quit asking for John Gruden and get your shit together.
Well, yeah, and since you bring up Les Miles, I kind of wonder what's going to go on down there too, because Les Miles is a pretty good coach to have under your roof.
You think?
And then fire him. You know what I mean?
Seriously,
they had some pretty good history. That's the delusional thinking. It's like, yeah, pretty
There's
solid.
Moment.
Yeah. So anyway, so I noticed that, and I think we're going to promise here to start recording our Monday podcast on Sundays. I've been feeling like I think a lot of people like to get up Monday and on their way to work, or we've been seeing that a lot. Like if it's not posted, that's a little bit of a bummer. So I don't know. I'm at least mentally committing to that right now. I think the Monday is a good day to be getting out there early and get the train rolling right. True. Or is that something you don't want to hear from your athletes?
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, we took a few weeks to do our kind of little bit of a podcast break on our Sunday work.
Yeah, it's our quasi off season.
But hey, you still got them every Sunday or every Monday. You're going to continue to get them every Monday, and then hey, you know what else we're doing? We're getting you another podcast each week too. So
that's true.
But yeah, we'll do a better job. I know it is a nice way to start everybody's week. So and I enjoy listening to it too on Monday mornings when I get up. So we'll do our best, but regardless, we will always make sure, as we have for the last year, continue to give you podcasts on Mondays and Thursdays.
Right, and we can, even if we do record them on Sunday, we can still start the first 10 minutes with college football.
That's right.
Hey,
whatever.
Hey, it's on our mind, We look for lessons in everything.
It's true. We look for lessons.
And I think that those, if you look deep enough into what we were just talking about, there's some proven ways to be winners there.
There is definitely to be a champion in life.
To be a champion in life.
That's right.
We'll always have that from Butch Jones.
We will. Hey, and if you're getting an $8 million buyout after you get fired, you can technically, I think, consider yourself a champion in life.
Yep, and not only that, I think if you would have been winning and said that, we'd really, really like that quote a lot more.
Ah, no kidding.
You know what I mean? That would have been really perfect after some wins.
Yeah.
They played well and everything. There's more important than that.
Yep. Too bad you didn't.
Good kids.
Good kids.
Champions in life.
You want to talk a little triathlon today? Or should we continue on to college football and basketball and maybe even, lacrosse?
No, I do want to talk about triathlon because partially because I am at least one day I've been recharged and I'm ready to go as of yesterday. Actually, what's kind of cool is that I did do all that stuff. I got on the bike and I ran yesterday, and I didn't go crazy, but I kind of felt good this morning. So I was like, all right, I finally kind of feel like my legs they've felt ever since the race. When I was talking to you about this, I've had that flat feeling in my legs,
mm-hmm.
my hamstrings. I just don't know. So I actually went and lifted Saturday, did some strength work, and kind of just was forcing myself to push some blood through there or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think sometimes that's what it takes,
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I'm definitely weak in the leg.
Hey, now's that time of year to build a foundation of durability.
Uh-huh.
Yep. You don't want your speed to outfast your chassis.
Yeah.
Which brings me to one of my coaching pet peeves.
Oh. Go for it, man. I like to hear these.
And these are quite a few that I have to not deal with, that I cover when I onboard new athletes, and I always have a little thing, it's the obligatory track workout.
Oh, okay.
Listen, track workouts have their place. They are a place where you can get in very focused speed sessions on a softer surface, with nowhere else, nothing else to distract you. But the weekly track session, give it a rest.
Yeah.
It's one of the most aggravating and annoying things I see as a coach is the weekly track speed workout. Because you know what that weekly track speed workout usually gets you? An injury.
Yeah, especially I was going to say that's probably the bad for 99% of the people because they're not at that level.
Because what you do is your newly acquired speed levels totally and 100% exceed the athlete's strength or their coordination or their general running form. So while you're and that's something that we get to when I work with athletes is doing a ton of running, but doing it in more of a quantity mode, like 5, 6, 7 runs a week instead of 3 longer ones, or blasting these track workouts or these 400s or 800s, and it's like you can't continue to build the engine and build it and build it and build it and build it and neglect the chassis and then expect it to run like it's supposed to run and not break down.
Mm-hmm.
And if all you're doing is priming the engine and not spending a lot of time or just balancing it even, like, yeah, is there need for speed work? Absolutely. But it should come in at a certain specific time, and it should come after you've established a good training load and you have the base not only to withstand it, but you have the base to readily absorb the speed you've now acquired and now sustain it for a long period of time in training and in racing. Because you can have all the speed you want, and you're going to go the last 2 to 3 miles because your body's going to break down and not last 2 hours. And it's also, you have athletes that probably struggle some with their run gait, with their form, and with their just natural durability. And you ask them to do these all-out efforts, again, where their coordination and their strides may be so off that you're basically just begging for an injury.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Whereas yes, and a lot of times, and I'm a huge proponent of this, is you don't always have to just totally rework everybody to this perfect running form. But what you can do is you can ensure and concrete and cement an athlete's current running form and make it as durable and resilient and as, quote unquote, injury proof as possible. And what that doesn't come with is shoving them to the track in week 1 or every repeated week for all out 400s and 800s and like, what are you even doing? And what's more aggravating is that's one of probably only 3 runs they have of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not doing any other short, easy runs. They're not doing any deliberate, what I would call foundation and consistency runs. And it's just, and I get it for coaches who are, or groups who are in kind of group training modes where you have to, gather and corral a large group of athletes into one area. You put them on a track because you don't have to do the group run, on sidewalks, and it's like putting, a master's group in a pool. That's why a lot of master's programs, in my opinion, are just totally flawed. Is because you're swimming with a coach on deck, but you're not getting coached because you can't. Because there's 40 bodies in the water doing 40 different strokes at 40 different speeds in a different part of the set on a different interval. You can administer a workout, but you can't coach them through it. And that's how it is with a track workout. You can't tell me that you're specifically monitoring each athlete's load. And so that's a huge pet peeve of mine. And again, they have their place. Some of my favorite workouts can be done on a track, but I don't have a single solitary workout that's labeled track session. And it's a huge pet peeve of mine, and you see it a ton, and it's more style than it is substance. And I've seen more athletes get injured from that weekly quote unquote speed session than almost anything else.
And I also wonder if, the nature of being on a track makes you kind of think that you're going to be Usain Bolt or something. And you kind of may, just because of the lines and the track, it's just, it probably takes you a little bit out of where you should be going, like at the top end. When we were talking about couch to 5K earlier, I kind of think about like the Moneghetti run that you prescribe a lot is really a popular run, and it's a speed work, and it's sort of all on and then all off kind of interval type things, Delios, and so it's when I because I've been I haven't been really running as much as I should or could, and I always get that itch to go do a Moneghetti, and just because. But again, it's sort of like that's what I mean. Like when you get on a track, you want to prove something, or when you want to get out and do a Moneghetti, you really want to go hard and really go all out. But when I go back into my Moneghettis, I don't go all out. I just inch up the speed. Like even on I won't run as hard as I can maybe the whole time, but if I do, it's right towards the end, long after I've gotten it going, and maybe I hit one of them really hard just to see if it's there. You know what I mean? That's how I think about Moneghettis. It's like I got to build up to it.
Yeah, that's even in my onboarding guide when I talk about all out. Is I would rather your all out be 90% controlled than 100% fast, flailing with poor form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's another 15 seconds per mile going to get you if you're not doing it with correct form? Or you're because you get to that place between 90 to 100 where you're in more of a compromising load position in relative to your form, to where it's just not worth it. So take 90% controlled fast versus 100% uncontrolled, and that should be an easy answer.
Mm-hmm. Because really, especially at this point, the goal should be to feel better tomorrow than to wipe yourself out for a day or two. And that's what I think I might have done a couple of weeks ago. I went out for an easy run. I'm like, maybe let's see what I got. And I kind of started going hard, and I felt fine and it felt good. I'm like, yeah, I got this. And then, but the next few days, and now it's been 2 weeks, I wonder if that little mistake has, kind of threw a physical and mental wrench in my whole overall program. So it's really nice to be able to, like, even it sounds silly, but like I was out and I am taking my dog on a kind of building her up too, because she's been, I haven't been running with her much, but so we were doing on off. So I'll walk, run, and and towards the end, I was feeling a little bit better. So I just picked it up just a hair, and then I got done, and I was like, man, I really wanted to keep going, but I just stopped. It's kind of like having the courage to walk away when you're feeling good, and just use that as a stepping stone. There's another brick in the
Don't say it.
Wall? What?
No, I thought you were going to do a little brick by brick thing for Butch Jones, but I'm just glad you didn't.
I was trying, but I couldn't remember exactly what he said. But it's
which is,
true.
That's a common thing. I mean, and that goes with it kind of transitions to one of my other pet peeves, which is always letting your athletes race so you can show off their results. When the most important job of a coach is getting your athletes not to race, or not the most, but one of them. I mean, honestly, like two of my most primary, the most important parts of my job, or telling you you're not racing when you want to, or B, preventing you from that quote unquote epic workout, or the one where you have kind of a niggle or a pain, or you're kind of coming under the weather and you choose to push it anyway, are two of the most primary parts of my job. I mean, I had an athlete that was, because what you just said is something that happens. So it's like you get almost where you want to be, and you jump to I'm already there, instead of reining it back in. Like it gets almost to that, like I'm so close I can taste it, like that 90%, like you just said, like I could do another one, but I didn't, because that one more might be the difference in taking 3 steps forward and stopping, or 2 steps forwards and 1 step back, because you did too much.
Yeah.
And I had an athlete that I've been working with a lot here the last month and a half, who's kind of redoing some biomechanics and working with a doctor, and she was like, 2 weeks ago, she's like, you think I should race here? I said no. I think it's a terrible idea. She's like, you're right, all right. 48 hours before said race, I'm thinking about, so what if, quote unquote, I did this race and did this, and my what do you think? Like this huge paragraph, and my response was, "You're not racing." And so it's
You're not racing, you're pacing.
Exactly.
Go and pace a friend for about half of that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, or go out and do the run I asked, and then and so she ended up doing this other run that was on her schedule that wasn't as fancy, and it wasn't a race, and it wasn't competition, and there weren't any awards. And she got done. She said, that run felt great. I was like, see, it's taking 2 steps forwards and no steps back. But it's having that faith in between the 90 to 100 that you're going to get to that 100 instead of testing it too quick or pushing yourself too much, or understanding that a day off here or an easy day there to prevent you from getting sicker, or because I have kind of it's not unwritten, it's a written rule. It's like if you're sick and it's above the head, we can keep going. We can keep going with intensity. We might slow things down a little bit, but we're sure we're okay. Chin down. If it gets into the lungs and you're coughing, like that, then it's viral. Then we just shut it down completely. And it's like, but you have athletes that want to push it and push it and push it, and then they want to go out and the famous last words. Well, I just wanted to go out and test it.
Yeah.
Always a bad idea. Whether it's from coming back from injury or coming from, like if I have an athlete who's coming back from like any kind of a structural, foot, leg injury, it's like your first run is you start with a walk to even see how it might feel instead of immediately starting to run. But it's so much of it is convincing you that you may not be moving forward at as rapid of a pace as possible, but you're still moving forward versus being stagnant or taking steps backwards, because the extra energy and time and effort and risk that any steps backward puts on your body and really on your mind can be detrimental to not just a specific type of part of the season, but to your entire season. Because taking continual steps forward, no matter how big or how small, is consistency, and that's where the magic happens.
Yes, and it lines up with my theory or my Zen quote on working out, is that working out should give you energy, not take it away. Mm-hmm. And I think that I think about that all the time. It is a really powerful thing. It's very difficult to do when you're doing the kind of load that we do as triathletes. Mm-hmm. You're looking at a lot of pretty intense workouts. It's very difficult to come off a 6-hour bike ride energized, but I think in general it's a good principle to keep in mind. And I think that's a lot of times why we talk about that before, about sometimes you get out, you got a pool workout going great, and you might be planning for 3,500, but right around 2,800, you're just feeling like you just got it. Mm-hmm. And what's the problem with stepping out of the pool at that point rather than putting another 700 on your body and then being gassed?
Yep.
Especially, early in the year or off season. I mean, How great would that be to be able to say, man, I want to go back to the pool tomorrow, instead of just being completely wiped and falling asleep at your cubicle.
Yep.
After all day.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't.
Or your corner office, because I know we have a lot of, it doesn't have to be a cubicle. Or in my case, falling asleep on the couch.
That's right. Right, but that is. I would agree with you 100% in that. And that kind of leads me to not my last, but another pet peeve is the day off a week prescription.
Yeah. Automatic.
Now listen, the automatic, scripted, you get 1 day off a week. Now listen, I have plenty of athletes who just say, hey, this day is just so jam-packed for me, I just need to take it off. Okay, done. However, if you don't have any of those days, you get days off when you need them, or when your body requires them, not just because. When I ever start to work with a lot of athletes, and I have here at least the last month, which is why I was on my mind, was like, I see my first week in there, I don't see any days off. Do you not prescribe to the 1 day off a week method? No. And I didn't know that was a method. Because to me, and what you just said is the reason. Because you rarely have I ever found, a person who is given a scripted day off that actually felt a ton better the next day. Now, what you often find is if you give somebody a super chill run or a super easy swim or a very active recovery spin to continue to promote recovery, because a day off to me doesn't scream recovery. If you're listening and you give yourself 1 day off a week just because, then you're missing out on almost 2 months of training a year. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, man, the reason why a lot of I'm not even going to call them coaches, a lot of training plan administrators give 1 day off a week is because, and not only is it unimaginative and uncreative, but it's a fail-safe. It's a fail-safe between monitoring your own training load or an athlete's training load and being in contact with them and communicating and knowing when they really truly need a day off, or they just need to get out and do something relaxing, keep the blood moving, because what happens is they actually feel better when they do something afterwards. It's not, and like you said, what happens is, especially like when you start working with an athlete that's new, consistency is king. And you get somebody who's worked out 6 days in a row and they're in this awesome groove, and you just give them a random ass day off. You're asking for a pattern break. Because do they really need a day off? You only did 6 hours of volume last week. Come on, dude. Tell me you really need a day off? No, I'm just going to give you one because I don't really know how fatigued or sore you are. So let's just give you a day off and let's just pretend like that's okay, and that's going to prevent you from getting injured, when it's not. It just prevents you from really paying attention. Because if you do a hard workout the next day, the answer isn't always a day off. The answer usually is just do something really, really, really light, keep your body moving, flush out the blood, and stay consistent. Because what happens is you give somebody a day off, they get stiffer, they get slower, and they get out of their routine. And guess what? The next day, it's hard to get back up and get into that routine.
Yeah, I could especially see that if it, and then because it's like the overall training program has to have ebb and flow, and it all works together. You know what I mean? It's just not a chunk of here's 14 workouts and they all feel like workouts. You know what I mean? Like there's purpose behind different workouts, and like you're saying, like that easy spin day or that recovery day might be easier than taking a day off in a way, on your body is what I'm getting at.
I mean, day off doesn't, workouts also, and like a training session can also be recovery and recharge sessions.
Yeah.
Like I had I had an athlete that raced a half marathon on Saturday, and then I gave her a bike ride on Sunday, a recovery spin, to loosen up the legs, to get things moving. And she was like, "Oh, I totally needed this, even though it didn't feel good. I totally needed it to feel better." Whereas if I'd given this person a day off, I guess they would have felt like on Monday.
Yeah.
A ton of bricks.
It's quite kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, oh, day off Monday, I'm like, why? I don't understand why. Like, you miss out on quality recovery, but do you really need it? Because at that point you never, and this is even for the self-coached athlete, like you need to figure out what training load is actually appropriate for you. Like, can you just keep on training? And like, I have athletes that can go, 3.5, 4 weeks straight without missing a day and getting no days off, no quote unquote days off.
Mm-hmm.
Now they may have a 2K easy swim in there. Well, you tell me what's better. you know, going into the water and flushing out and staying loose, but still staying in the rhythm, you're going to feel better the next day. And you know what you're also going to be? You're also going to be mentally engaged, because recovery workouts are just as important as the hard workouts. You know, to promote recovery, to stay consistent, to stay in a rhythm, to, they have a purpose. It's just not, here's a day off every day, 1 day a week. You're cutting yourself short, and you need to figure out. But where days off are, where they should be applied, are on a kind of an as needed basis. If I see a comment, I'm feeling super fatigued today. All right, delete next day. Give them an easy 2K swim. Or I think I'm coming down with something. Not feeling too good. Bam, day off. You use them when they're needed. It's kind of like an emergency stay, not a, well, if I only let you work out 6 days a week, then pretty much no matter what I give you, I can probably, you're probably not going to overdo it. That way I can't really just pay a lot of attention. And a lot of self-coached athletes do it too. It's like, I'm just going to give myself a day off, which is why sometimes for specific people, some people can self-coach themselves and they just do like a tremendous job. A lot of athletes do that, but a lot of them, it's that day off. I give you a day off for 2 reasons. One, you have any kind of a niggle or a pain or a tweak, and even then, it's like, okay, let's just do an easy spin and see how we feel. Or give me a scale, on like a scale of 1 to 10. Is it a 7 or an 8? Then we probably need to take a day. Is it a 2? Well, then get your ass back out there and get to work. Mm-hmm. I had and even when it's kind of a sensitive time, like I had an athlete who raced a half marathon this weekend who on Thursday was like, got a little twinge in my quad. We're talking 48 hours for a race, thinking I should just maybe cut the day short. And I said, and as a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? And he said a 2, and I said, then go run. Mm. And he got done and he felt better. And a lot of that's also those those taper race week kind of phantom pains that really aren't there. We just kind of have them.
Sure.
So you got those, and you got I think I'm coming down with something. Day off, because if we can head that off at the pass instead of just having to put you on the shelf, then big difference. But days off aren't just to be given away like candy. They're there for a specific reason. Not just to, quote unquote, administer and just to kind of have.
Mm-hmm. And you hit on a point that I think is just crucial. It's that just staying engaged thing, because it's sort of like that old adage where somebody is kind of sick and been laying around for a few days, and they finally on day 3 they get up and go to work or whatever it may be, mm-hmm. and they always feel better. So it's sort of like mm-hmm. you can kind of get in your own head, and you can kind of like use these off days have a tendency, at least with me anyway, to kind of perpetuate another off day. And especially when it's not needed, it can get you in a sort of a lazy mental pattern.
Yep.
If it's just sort of habit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just, it makes a lot of sense, I think, just to keep a groove going when you got a groove going, and take that day when it really makes sense. And that's the thing about coaching, right, is that when you look at stuff, you're looking at it from a, way up in the air. You're looking at the whole program, but it's easy for people to kind of, guys like me, sometimes to get in their head and just sort of like talk themselves into doing something that probably isn't the right decision at the time.
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, I had an athlete reach out to me maybe 2 weeks ago. He was interested in coaching. He's like, yeah, I did this run and I knew I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But I did it anyway. And that's when I knew it was time to reach out. Because it's true, honestly, if we could just implant a chip into athletes' brains that just made them totally objective, they wouldn't need, most of them wouldn't need coaching. Mm-hmm. It's getting them out of their own way, not pushing them forwards. It's that, I explain this to so many athletes, I'm not a hammer coach. I'm just not. I'm not a hammer coach because most triathletes and most athletes are already type A. So they are naturally nails. They're naturally nails. So you don't need me to hammer you any more than you're already hammering yourself.
Sure.
And I may use the flip side of the hammer and pull you out. But, it's preventing you from doing the stupid workout because you're just so afraid that you're going to miss out or take a step back because you're looking at Bobby Sue Jane, who just ran a 5K and PR'd. And you're like, oh, well, I can't take a step back. So-and-so's doing this. So I'm like, listen, we all want to take 95 steps forward. I get it. And we all want to do them at a rapid pace with perfect circumstances, but that's just not the case, and it's having to, and a lot of times it's also like, the athletes either lying. Athletes, listen, we all lie, and athletes lie a lot. Yeah, I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. I can handle some more, looks behind the scenes, looks at the data. Yeah, about that. We're going to give you a couple chill days, because it's always more. I can always handle more. I can always do more. It's like, it's like life. We have these problems and we put them to the side and we just want more and we just take on more and more until finally we crack and we burn and we crash. And athletes are so much the same way, is that they just want more and more and more because they want to get better and they want things so bad that they are willing to ignore pains and aches and sickness and fatigue and sleep because they just want to get better. And you have to be able to look at that and look past the, yeah, man, keep them coming, man, to the, yeah, I see the last few workouts. It's time for a couple of days of super chill stuff,
right?
To get re-energized, and again, it's never pushing an athlete forward. Like it rarely ever is. And if it is, it's not in a, hey, get your ass out of bed and go work out. It's a, all right, we all get in a bad, everybody, I think, gets in a bad place throughout the year. It gets in a training rut. And this time of year is the biggest time for it. This time of year and then around August is usually because people have been training hard for so long and focused that they just mentally have a hard time. And it's like, so at that point, it's not you need, it's okay, what do we need to do? How can we make things different? I had a phone call with an athlete this morning who was just, reached out to me. He's like, hey, I'm just in a bad place. Can we talk? Absolutely. So she was going through some things, and so what we need to do was just basically totally scrap the plan that we had and basically give her what I call the menu option, Monday through Thursday, and then specific sets. So basically what happened was, instead of having a structured Monday through Sunday, she had so much going on and so many circumstances to deal with and a bunch of family stuff that Monday through Thursday were just so stressful. So having something on the plan and missing it was adding stress. Because it's red and I can't make it, and you see this one workout and you think, I can't do this today, so I can't do anything. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, totally flexible. Things are easier to manage. She can do things. So what I did is I took the 4 workouts that I would normally put in for her that week, Monday through Thursday, and I put them all on Monday. And I just said, you wake up and you go through the day, and when you have time to work out, you look at those options and you say, I can do that today. I've got time for this. They range from 30 minutes to an hour and a half. That way she can pick and choose to be successful each day on her own on those in that specific category than only a, kind of a pass or fail mentality. And again, you have to be careful and I have to be really diligent as a coach not to put in any workouts that if she happened to lay them out day to day, back to back, would be detrimental. Like, you can't put in 2 hard runs as an option. Because then if she does 2 hard runs, 2 days in a row, then that could be, that could be more of a setback than a move forward. And so you have to make them attainable, but it's about that progression. It's about changing, and it's about, okay, and that's coaching in general and in life. It's when in the NFL, if a team does great, it's all about the team and the players get to stay. But like Butch Jones just found out, it's things go south. Well, guess what? It's the coach. It's a we thing. We do it, and if it's not working, then we figure it out, or we change things, or we adapt, or or I get you out of your own way thinking this is a good idea when really it's a terrible idea. And you have to be matter of fact and look at the big picture. And as a coach, you have to ultimately always think of what's in the athlete's best interest. That has to do with health and sustainability versus getting on the podium or going and doing a workout that might blow everybody's minds one day and leave them wrecked for 2 weeks. Because athletes don't need any help doing that. They would do it already, because they push themselves and they push and they push and they try and they want to perfect and they just always want to quote unquote do better. And sometimes doing better is not doing it all.
Yeah, that's interesting what you say that about the hammer and versus hammering the nail versus pulling it out, because I could just totally see how somebody coming off of a big weekend block, for example, might wake up Monday and be like, you know what, I feel great today. Mm-hmm. Let's throw another 4-hour ride on this and make it a massive block. Mm-hmm. Because that way I can gain, right? That's it's like, look what I just did. I just put in 10 hours of cycling this week.
Right, more.
Yeah, and it's like because you feel like maybe you can do it, but you're not looking at the big picture. Then all of a sudden it's like Tuesday, you're going, I think I need a few days off now. It's like that's the whole point, right?
One easy session turns into 3 days off.
Yeah. Which I don't know. None of us, I don't know. I suppose 3 days off here and there throughout the, whatever might be necessary.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the frequency of it.
It's
not learning from your mistakes. And the longer I work with athletes, the more they hate days off.
Yeah,
because it's unsettling.
It's kind of one of those things. Just do something, right? It's like
go for a walk.
Don't look at something. Yeah, if your workout looks just over insurmountable today or whatever, do half of it, or whatever the case may be. Just do part of it, and then maybe it works out that you're like by the time you get halfway through, you're gonna want to finish. It's all about that beginning.
Putting the shoes on.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time. I mean, that is such a true thing. I mean, it's just unbelievable what a difference it can make coming out of what quote unquote work clothes but throwing on your actual running shoes and shorts, and it's just like changes the vibe.
Oh, the body. Dude, I don't know that I've ever heard an athlete say totally didn't want to run, put my shoes on anyway and ran, and then stopped 10 minutes because I hated it. Yeah. It's usually totally didn't want to get out of bed, totally didn't want to run. Got so much going on, got my shoes on, went out the door, and I'm so glad I did it. Because once you get out and do it, like I said, it's the hardest part of the run is putting your shoes on. But it's getting out there and getting out of yourself and doing things that energize you and allow you to leave, your stress at home. And just keeping things for yourself. I know it's not where we're going with this, but that's and we'll talk about that on our first C26 Squadcast with Summer Scandrers that releases tomorrow on iTunes. I'm super pumped about. And we cover that a lot too. Is that guilty feeling and the benefit and the plus of working out is stress relief, not added stress.
Right.
And if you can't take your mind with you, and you feel like you have to leave it at home, then we might need to change things.
Mm-hmm. I think I wrote an article about that a long time, or a post about what I called it the hardest part of everything is the transition. Because that's what it becomes, is like coming home from work and transitioning into your running clothes and run mode. It's like, how do you create that momentum to push from one discipline to another. And often that becomes the hardest part of it. It's like, yeah, you get out of the water and all of a sudden you got to get into transition and get your head in bike mode, like now. Or how do you get out of bed and get into transition mode? You know, it's those little things in life that that's why it's so interesting when you hear a lot of these like quote unquote self-help gurus or whatever. They're like just change your body chemistry or whatever, and it's like do something that just takes you completely out of the mode you're in and get in a different mode. Just change your body, the way your body feels, the way your mind's thinking, and just drop that other part and just go in a different direction that may feel uncomfortable at the time, but just get through that like initial barrier, and then everything just sort of feels a little more fluid and becomes easier because you just can't. You know, it's like being cold or whatever and going outside. I mean, that's like how many people, just get out there and it'll work itself out.
Yeah, it's for me, it's been, changing that's why I've been such a huge fan of this daylight savings time thing is
you're like the only one in America.
And there's a few of us.
No, I know. I think we're coming around. I think let's start a movement. We like daylight savings time.
And I do. It's because it's light out and I can go from my room. But for me, it's like if the first thing that I do when I wake up is if I start, like for me, before daylight saving times, I was kind of in this routine was the first thing I did was, when Allie and Hayden left the house at 6:20, or 6 o'clock, even earlier, before they left, I'd open up my laptop and start doing my Training Peaks reviews. The workouts my athletes have done the night before or the morning of, and reviewing them and giving comments. And the earlier I dive into doing things for others or focusing my energy on, my job or athletes, the harder it is for me to bring it back in and do something for me. But since the daylight saving times, what I've done is before I even open up my laptop, I don't even open it up like I shouldn't, before Allie and Hayden leave in the morning. But then at 6:20, I leave the house when they do and go for a run or go for a swim. I do something for me first. And then the rest of the day, it's so much easier to A, know that I got it out of the way, but B, to continually do things for myself in a healthy manner because it's what's going to drive me forward no matter what. But it's taking that time. It's it's getting a morning ritual, or whatever you want to call it, and just making sure you carve out time for you and doing it the right way because there's only so much of you to give anyway. And if you start your day off, and I've been the king of this, as I've tried to kind of work on a work-life balance / coach, and then I'm also an athlete balance is compartmentalizing and my energy when it comes to coach and athlete, and it's a work in progress, but it's definitely, I think, a step in the right direction for me is making that a priority first, and getting it done. Then I feel better, and then it clears my mind, and then I literally come back in and I like just sit right down and get to work, and it's a good thing.
That is a good thing, man. That clears a whole drawer of clutter, so to speak.
Yep.
And then you can kind of just, because I can imagine, that is one of those things, right? It's sort of that looming workout or whatever. It sort of becomes obsessive in your mind, even subconsciously, where that becomes a distraction in everything. It's like, man, and then the longer the day rolls on, it's like, where am I going to go? That's why I really have, like, my whole life wished I was a guy that could get up like you do and get out there and get that done, and then it's done. And people say that to me all the time. Yeah, I just want to get it out of the way. And it's like, that makes so much sense in the big scope of everything, really. It's like, not only that, it's getting up and whatever, meditating and being grateful, and whatever you decide to do in the morning is just like really kind of reground yourself in the things that are important to you, and remember that and take care of yourself and your body and your mind right away in the morning. That has to be a way to start the day, right?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it makes so much sense, to get then rather than most of America probably gets up late, showers quick, runs out with a donut in their mouth, and then their whole day is like off kilter.
Mm-hmm.
I know that well. It was like hit snooze, hit snooze, hit snooze, and I had it perfected. How the shortest amount of time I needed to get to my desk, basically at work.
Yep.
It's like wake up and I can get up at 8:35 and be at my desk by 9, with a shower, and a quick bagel, coffee pickup, and I'm gone. And that's just no way to go through life, man.
Yep. It's because snooze is just delaying the inevitable.
Well, I know
it's just like delaying, and so you do the rest of your day. It's like you said, it's like that looming workout. I still gotta do this today, instead of before you even get going with the day, knowing you're already done.
I love that kind of stuff because really, no snooze is the way to go. I mean, it's just like that's the transition, right? So how do you transition from bed to the floor? Just get up, right? And then as you know, I'm a big fan of Wim Hof, the Iceman.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
But it's all about physiology and things like that, making your body wake up and be alive and getting oxygen to your body and whatever. But it wasn't him, but someone else I was kind of stumbled across because I've been a fan of, he believes in cold water therapy and being in water and breathing deep and all that sort of stuff, which I am totally into. But one of the things that comes out of that is like, all right, yeah, if you don't have like an ice bath or a cold pond out in your backyard or whatever it may, a submersion tank, just take cold showers. But a lot of times, especially like when it's in a warmer climate, the water itself isn't really quote unquote cold. It's more of like ground temperature or whatever. I mean, it gets cold in the winter here, but I was watching some guy and he was talking about he's from Florida and how he does it, and is he gets in the shower and just imagines that water is really cold, and then he tries to make his body react like the water would be cold, and you know what I'm saying, like how you would. Your shoulders would go up and you'd be like, oh man, that is freezing or whatever. He just acts that way. And that in turn makes his body alive. And it's sort of like he creates this feeling like it's almost like you get high. And what that means is like everything comes to the highest part of your body and into your brain, and it just sort of wakes you up, even though it isn't cold water. It's sort of like simmering. Right. And it wasn't Tony Robbins, but it's sort of along that theory of how he like puts you in a different state of mind. And those are the kind of things that I really like to think about and try and do. It's just like they seem absurd, but whatever it takes, right, to get you to the next place.
Exactly, whatever it takes.
Yeah. I'm going to be a runner, so I'm going to put my shoes on and act like one. Those little things like that matter, man.
Listen, dude, you don't have to tell me.
I know.
I know that these, everybody, regardless of whatever the endeavor is or the obstacle, and usually it's an obstacle, is when they get so fed up trying to go around it or trying to find different ways, they finally find themselves in a place where they say, you know what? I don't really give a shit how this looks or what it's going to take or what my preconceived notion is. If this is the way, I'm going to give it a try. If I'm really into and I'm really committed to making it work, I'm going to do it. I mean, listen, dude, this time of year I always start, I think about, I'll be sober 4 years next Monday. And I always kind of think about this time of year, kind of brings back memories. And, I was in treatment for 90 days. And, dude, some of the stuff that they make you do in there, thank God nobody else is there. But I found myself thinking, like, oh, my God, I can't believe, like, and you got plenty, so many people wouldn't even participate in some of the things we did because how it, quote unquote, looked.
Yeah, like dancing.
Yeah, like dancing. Or singing. I mean, can you imagine me singing a Stone Temple Pilot song? Because I did. But no kidding,
I made up
dude.
a song this morning I was singing to Maddie.
Yeah, I sang in front of like 100 people. I sang the Stone Temple Pilot song.
Oh my goodness.
But the part of it was is getting out of yourself and no longer like trying to take yourself so seriously. But it was opening up this door of like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. If this is what, and I don't even know, like if that's what's good. It's like that wasn't any kind of a cure, but it's like I'm willing to do literally whatever it takes. And if this is a small part of it, and God help me if anybody ever finds us on video, even though they can't, then
Yeah.
God help me. But if this is what it takes, then whatever, screw it, I'm in. you know, but it's the same thing with training in life, and it's like if I got to do all these little things to get me here, and I've been trying to always find it. And for me, it's like you always try to find a different way. Or I'll stop, drinking here, or I'll go to therapy and work on my past trauma, next year or in a couple months. And you're always trying to find a different way. Well, the way is just like smack dab right in front of you. You just, for whatever reason, find, and you like, instead of knowing and doing exactly what it takes to move through and get over this obstacle, you create more in front of it. Another way that has its own obstacles to prevent you from this. And yeah, I mean, there's just so many things with life, and and like I said, training and relationships and business. It's just like the most complicated things in life are made complicated by us. And if you break them down to like kind of bare bones, are like the most simplest things in life that we just overcomplicate and refuse to address.
Yeah. I got a question. Have you ever gone in the pool and been on the ledge and turned around and went home?
No, but I gotta tell you a quick story. That I had. So in the past, like Friday, I went to the pool and I was already pretty tired and I had a big swim, and all the lanes were full, which is like, dude, you're just asking to skip swim.
Oh, I know it.
Listen to what I was able to accomplish. I got in the hot tub first.
Oh. Which
is usually I'm just gonna recover today. And, you tell yourself, I'm just gonna, I really do need this,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do.
And I sat in there for like 10 minutes and I was like, man, it would be so easy for me to say, I'll just make up my swim tomorrow. I needed this. When the reality was I didn't need that. I was just like putting it off. And then about 10 minutes into, looked over and this guy got out of his lane and this lane opened up. And I knew that if I didn't go now, then I was never going to go. And I got out of the hot tub, grabbed my stuff and jumped right in and had a great swim. But so I haven't gotten on the pool deck and like on the ledge and done that before, but I've definitely gotten on my bike before, especially at the lab. I've been like, yeah, I'm gonna crush this workout, head out, headwind, see you later. Like, I'm not even gonna make the whole loop. I'm gonna take one of those cut around smaller loops and just head back and get in my car and just leave.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, getting on the bike was the challenge there, but you actually just said, yeah, that's it. I've done that at the pool. I've got there, started loosening up, and I was like, you know what? But I mean, it's just that getting in the water makes your whole body feel so much different. And it's interesting you say that about the hot tub, because sometimes I will spend exorbitant amount of time in the shower before the pool, like just turning that heat up and getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And sometimes it's like your body just is a little bit cold, and you don't want to get in cold water or whatever.
Right.
So there's something to be said for being in a hot water situation and then going to the cold. Maybe, I don't know. Could be something.
Well,
about
I think this time of year, the reason, because you're already so cold, the thought of like jumping into cold water again is just like, no thanks.
Yeah, I mean, that's
so I think actually warming up was actually good. Like I try to, like, this time of year I actually will wear like my sweatpants and sweatshirt on deck and stay like as warm as I can for as long as I can, and maybe even like warm up a little bit. So I'm getting in and the cool as a relief more than like a more of the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So
it's a good strategy. All right. Well, I definitely think we have set a podcast PR today.
Yeah. So for all you people giving us slack about it, we went over and above and beyond today with your hour and 5 minute plus C26 Triathlon podcast.
Yes, we have, and we haven't even done the announcements.
I know. Go ahead and rip through those announcements real quick.
Come on into our closed Facebook group. You just search Crushing Iron Group on Facebook. We will send a request and we'll let you in there. It's going really well. I mean, we're doing multiple people a day are coming in, and it's been great. That's all I got.
That's all I got.
No.
We are,
you got a good one.
Yeah, if you're debating on signing up for one of our 2018 triathlon camps, if you're on the fence even just a little bit, hop on in, get registered. It is an awesome time. We have an absolute blast at all the camps. Or if you want information, you can always go to our website. We have the camp dates and some awesome videos and highlights from this last year. But we are giving away a pair of Normatec Pulse recovery boots. Giving them away to one of our 2018 camp participants on Wednesday. So we'll do that drawing. So if you're on the fence and thinking about getting registered, put your name in that drawing. It'll be, you're going to have at least a 1 or 2% chance because we've got about 80, 90 people signed up for camp. So, which is pretty good odds for a $1,500 set of boots. So get registered for that. And then if you want any other details on training plan or coaching or camps or swim analysis, had a lot of people hop back on the swim analysis training here the last week. So it's awesome to see people working on that over the winter. You can go to our website again, which has all things Crushing Iron and C26 Triathlon, and that is at crushingiron.com.
Excellent. Once again, commercial free, the Crushing Iron podcast. Sort of commercial free, but
it's commercial free.
Yeah, it is. You can always support the podcast at Patreon. We have a patreon.com/crushing iron if you want to help support the podcast on a monthly basis. That's always there. Appreciate everyone who's been doing that. It helps us push out new PRs every week, it seems like, on the podcast. 1 hour and 7 minutes and counting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Love it.
Pretty soon these things are going to be 3 hours long.
I don't know about that, but...
Well, we'll have to come up with a new layer of information of some sort.
Yeah, something like that. Like the new podcast tomorrow coming out.
Oh, yeah. Geez. Yeah. Keep an eye out for that. The first C26 Squadcast tomorrow, where we talk with...
I'm so excited about that, man.
Current athletes and find out about their journey, how they got in, what they're doing, what's their why. Why are they doing this? How did it change their life? How can they inspire you coming from unlikely situations and into the sport and succeeding and growing in life and family and all kinds of stuff?
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. We have some amazing, amazing athletes and people, and so allowing them to share their stories and how far they've come and what got them into the sport and how they've made time and the change that's made. Yeah, I know they are gonna impact a lot of people. So I'm super pumped we can do that.
Are you excited about these?
Pumped, man.
Okay, man.
I mean, it's like, seriously, like people will get to like fully understand why I love coaching so much. Like, just wait till you get to meet all these amazing people and their amazing stories, from all different abilities and all different ages and all different, backgrounds. Yeah, and you'll understand why I love coaching so much, because I get to deal with these people on a daily basis. They are my office mates. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Very cool, man. All right, well, I'm pumped too.
Well, good. I can tell.
Yeah. All right. So time to get to work, buddy.
All right, see you, dude.
All right, man. See you.